Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Jessie Kate Creates. I'm Jessica, and today we are going to be making some love-themed cards. For this project, first we're going to do a more simple card using pattern paper, and then we're going to do the same card but a little bit more stepped up. For my pattern papers, I'm using this Valentine's embossed. It's really cool. All of the papers in this collection are embossed, which is really fun. And then I'm also using this Be My Valentine paper pad as well. Both of these are Craft Smart paper pads that I picked up at Michael's a few years ago. Now your first piece of pattern paper, you're going to want it to be 3¼ by 4½, and you're going to want to cut a heart out of the center. You could use dies to do that. You could use a machine. When I made this card, I didn't have any heart dies, so I just used my Cricut machine, but you can use whatever you have on hand. Don't throw away that heart. I will be using it to make more cards in a future video, so definitely hold on to that piece. Now, to back my heart, I've taken a piece of embossed paper from that paper pad I showed you and cut it out to the same size, 3¼ by 4½. And that way they will just layer together perfectly. And I'm just going to adhere these together. I started with my dry adhesive, and then I realized wet glue would probably be better so I could get all the edges of my heart. Now, I know that Valentine's Day has already passed, but I still wanted to share these cards for a couple different reasons. One, there are a lot of good reasons throughout the year to let someone know you love them, whether it's because, someone's celebrating an anniversary or a wedding, or because it's a Tuesday and they're just that amazing. Also, you could easily change up this card for any occasion by changing the shape you cut out in the pattern paper you use. So you could turn this into a birthday card by, using a scalloped circle and some birthday papers. Okay, so for the focal images on this card, I'm using this Mama Elephant stamp set that I think I picked up at AC Moore a few years ago, but use whatever you have in your stash. This is a great project for using up your stickers or your ephemera. I colored these with alcohol markers off screen. If you want to see how I colored them, I'd be happy to do a video for you on that. Just let me know in the comments if that's something you'd want to see. For the sentiment on this card, I'm using this Somebody Loves You from the stamp set, and I'm just stamping it down onto a scrap of white cardstock. You just need a piece of paper that's large enough to fit your sentiment. I also did these in a pink and a red, so I would have some options. Now, when I was making this card, the theme in my head was chocolate covered strawberries. So I really wanted to lean into the pinks and browns and reds. So I've gone ahead and pulled a brown A2 card base. And here you can see I'm just trying to decide which sentiment strip I want to use. And in the end, I decided on the black. So to add a little interest to the sentiment, I'm just going to cut out a little fishtail from each side. Now, at this point, I wasn't sure. This looked nice, but I wasn't sure, did I want to pop things up? Did I want to leave everything flat? So I decided to start with, I'd pop up my little teddy bears there on some foam tape. And I also decided to use my insurance policy, which is where I put a little bit of glue on the back of my foam tape. That way, if I don't stick things down in the perfect spot right away, I have a little bit of time to wiggle them around. And then when I'm happy with where it is, I can go ahead and press it down. Now at this point, I decide, you know what, I'm gonna pop this panel up, and you can see I put foam all over the back of it, and I started to pull it all off, but then I realized the card looked it didn't look bad, but it looked like it needed something else, like it needed some more interest. So what I decided to do was grab a black pen and just add some very kind of loose hand-drawn black lines all over the card to make a nice border. And for each edge of the card, I just did 2 lines. I didn't make them perfect. I leaned into them being kind of wonky. And I thought that really added a lot of interest to the card. So with that done, now I will adhere my panel. Again, I'm using my insurance policy with some glue on the foam tape and just taking my time to get it centered on the card. And now I took that off screen so I could kind of hold it up in front of my face and make sure it was straight. And once I liked it, I moved on to the sentiment. That has also been, I put some foam tape on the back of that, and I decided just to curl up the edges of the fishtails just so that it would add a little bit more interest and dimension to the card. And I adhered it right under those little teddy bear butts. And I thought that was so cute. Now for the inside of the card, I have a piece of that same embossed paper we used on the front of the card, and this measures 4 by 5 1/4. And then I have a piece of white cardstock that measures 3 3/4 by 5, and we're just going to layer these two pieces together. So there's not going to be a lot of this pattern paper showing, but honestly, I've had these papers in my collection for like 3 years. I've used them for the past 3 Valentine's days, and I'm kind of getting tired of them. So I just wanted to use them up, and it still brings that pink to the inside of the card to go with the, chocolate covered strawberry inspiration I had in my head. So that is going to complete card 1, our more simple card using pattern paper. So for card number 2, to step things up, I'm using pieces that I've created. So this is a alcohol ink piece that I made, and I cut it down to the same dimensions as that first card. I'm going to keep the scrap. We're going to use that for the inside of the card. I'll show you in a minute. But the main part that we're using for this card, it's still 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. And I just took a scrap of black cardstock and used an embossing folder to make my own embossed paper to go behind my alcohol ink piece. I adhered those two pieces together using wet glue and set a block on top of it and set it aside to dry. Now here I have a piece of paper that is 3 3/4 by 5, and I'm making sure it's going to fit on top of my scrap piece of the alcohol paper, and it does perfectly. So now I'm just going to take that to my trimmer and cut it down to size, and nobody is going to know that there's not a full piece of paper behind it. But it gives a really nice border that's going to tie in so nicely to the front of the card. So with that piece done, I'm just going to go ahead and adhere it to the inside of my card, just like that. Lovely. And the nice thing about using a card you've already made to make a new card is you already have the dimensions and the basic layout of the card. So here I'm using that other cute little teddy bear that I colored in, and I'm also using that black Somebody Loves You sentiment. Now I skipped over adhering everything down on camera because it's the exact same. I foam taped everything down in the exact same place as I did on the original card. Now for this one, I again thought it needed a little bit of interest to the edge of the card. Also, I glued the main panel down a little crooked, so to distract from that, I added white stitching all over the edge of the card. And I thought that that just tied everything together and really finished that card off nicely. I hope this was good inspiration for you, that once you have the layout of a card, you can really change it up and do whatever you want with the card. Again, I think these would be great for any occasion if you just, instead of leaning into hearts, maybe you use circles or squares or balloons, whatever you have on hand. I will be doing a part 2 to this video where I show you how to use those hearts we saved and also how you can turn these into any occasion cards. So be sure to subscribe to my channel if you're not already so you don't miss that part 2. If you liked the video, give it a like and let me know in the comments which of these 2 cards was your favorite. I myself was pretty partial to the purple. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.